Good evening. I am Sensei Kevlar. Welcome back to the Dojo. Tonight we're going to be covering what I call the dark arts of trading. And I want to preface this by saying I have avoided this subject up until now in order to teach you good habits. Good habits look like making a plan, sticking to the plan, trading the plan the trade the plan. I've shown you how to do that. I've shown you a lot of different techniques to make that work. And hopefully you've become proficient at practicing those techniques without spending any money at all. If you cannot do this and make yourself money on paper, you should not be using money to try and make yourself money using it. That's ridiculous. What I'm going to show you tonight is a way in which people get tricked into doing the wrong thing, in my opinion. I'm going to show you why it happens. I'm going to show you the result of it. I'm going to show you why I think it's avoidable. And I'm going to show you how to take advantage of it. So let's dive in. I'm just going to pull up my handy-dandy notepad here. Tonight we're going to talk about something called a derivative. And what a derivative is a financial instrument that is created by a institution, like an exchange, for instance. An exchange is an example of a financial institution in this case. And the idea behind the derivative is it becomes something that you're able to trade, and it has value, but isn't actually a thing as such. It's not like, not like crypto where you can take ownership of it. The ownership is all virtual on the exchange. So I'm going to show you how these things work. I'm going to show you, break down all the math. I'm going to show you how, we got here and what it is we're talking about. I'm going to show you how it works on exchanges. But let's do a little bit of a deep dive into what it is we're really talking about first. Let's imagine a scenario where we have a farmer, and a farmer is producing milk. Okay. He's trying to sell his milk, and, there's some market that is buying his milk on the other side. This, of course, would be for instance, a distributor who is in, he's a milk buyer. Okay. So there's a relationship where the farmers need to sell their milk to the distributors, and the distributors are paying some price. And of course, we can represent this in terms of an exchange where there's milk being sold on one side and dollars being offered on the other. Okay. When we do that, we set up this bid-ask structure. You're all familiar with this, right? We say that, the farmers are asking this guy's asking $100, he's asking $101, he's asking $102 for his milk, $103, right? Over here on this side, we've got, distributors who are trying to pay $99.98. This guy's trying to pay $98, somebody's trying to pay $96. Okay, and when these two numbers meet, when we get 99 over here and a 99 over here, what happens is the sale is made. That's how exchanges work. And this is, the typical market that you're used to. So what these guys can do is the milk producer can say, well, I want to, I'm looking at the current markets and I'm thinking the markets are, pretty high at the moment because it's summer and there's lots of milk going around, and so the markets have it's winter and the prices have gone up because there's not enough milk to go around. So $100 looks really good. What I want to do is I want to lock in the price at, $100. And so what he does is the farmer goes to the distributor and he says, hey, distributor, I like the current price of $100 or $99, as a case may be, but I want to lock this in for 6 months in the future. And I'm going to do that because in 6 months, I'm going to have a lot of milk from all my cows making milk this whole time. And the distributor goes, okay, $99. Well, I'm afraid that in the future, the price might go up. In fact, I'm pretty sure, the distributor's sitting here going, I'm afraid that, it might go up to 110 or 120, and I like $99. So I'm going to lock in the price 6 months in advance. Okay. What we do is we create a contract, and we say 6 months from now, deliver milk at a price of 99, we'll call it $100, right? And they agree to this contract. They form this contract between them. And then screw that up. On THS, they are obligated. Right now, he is obligated in 6 months to deliver so much milk at a price of $100, and he is obligated to buy that milk at $100. Okay. Well, meanwhile, what happens is the price of milk changes over time, right? Maybe we see a decrease in milk price, right? And the price of milk comes down, and it's all the way at 95 6 months in the future. Okay, so 98, and then we'll have 96 here. Okay. Well, what we can see is that the farmer made a good deal. He locked in his price of $100 when the current market is only buying things at $95. Now 6 months later, he's actually made the milk, and he's ready to sell at $100. He's made a good deal. He's made $5, the difference of these prices. $5. On the other side here, we have this guy, and he's obligated to buy this milk at $100. So his loss is $5 per gallon. He didn't speculate very well, and now he's losing money on this. Okay. So what we can say is that this contract is worth to him $5 extra, right? And this contract is worth to him negative $5, because it's actually costing him more money than if he actually bought the milk on the current market, right? Sorry, these things needed to come down because we want 94, 93, 92. You get the idea. Okay. What we've said is that this contract is now worth $5 on this side and negative $5 on this side. Well, what happens is that, maybe we're only 3 months in and these prices have changed and we can see that this contract is worth $5. But the milk producer, well, maybe he loses his cows. Cows get sick, can't produce the milk. Well, he's still got the contract, and we can still say that the contract is worth $5. So if he can find a buyer for this contract, if he can find another milk producer and say, hey, I've got a contract that'll allow you to get $97.50 on the market, then the market, the guy's going to look at it and go, oh, $97.50, that's $2.50 higher than the current market price. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take that, and that's worth $2.50 to him, right? Because 100 minus 90 minus 97, 50 is $2.50. So this is worth $2.50 to the guy who's selling the contract, and it's also worth $2.50 to the guy who's buying the contract. Okay? This is all just zero-sum math I'm doing here. We're just assigning value to this contract based upon the difference of it and the market price. On the other side here, this guy can do the same thing. He can say, well, I've got this contract and it's costing me $5, but I can sell you, if you think that the price of milk is going to go up in 3 months over $100, I can sell you a contract for $97.50 and make back my $2.50, or even make back, I can sell it to you at $100 and make back my $5 and get myself out from underneath this contract. So this contract itself, the thing whose price is derived from the market it is trading, from the market it is delivering, from the market it is derived from, has a price of its own. And its price sort of comes close and reflects in a lot of ways this. But for the owners of it, it actually reflects a gain on one side, a loss on one side and a gain on the other. This is the basic concept behind a derivative. And what the idea is that the exchanges create these things from nothing. They just say, well, if you're willing to buy, instead of milk, if you're willing to buy Bitcoin for this price, sometime in the future, and you're willing to buy, you're willing to take up the other side of that offer, then we can just poof a new tradable instrument into existence. And that's exactly what they do. They literally create a tradable instrument which doesn't exist. And what happens is that tradable instrument has a delivery time in the future. 6 months or whatever it is. Right? And when that delivery comes true, what they do is they demand that you make up the difference. So instead of milk, if we're talking about Bitcoin, and we're talking about a contract that you bought for $97.50 and then Ethereum, you bought it for $97.50, and then Ethereum goes up to, you bought the long side of the contract. That's what this would be, the long side of the contract. Or sorry, this would be the short side of the contract because you think the price is going to go down. This would be the long side of the contract because you think the price is going to go up. If you bought the short side of the contract and then it went higher than what you bought, you would owe the difference because you would need to go and buy the Bitcoin on the open market for that price in order to satisfy delivery of the contract when that contract comes due at that time in the future. So that's why they call this type of contract a future. You've probably heard of this before. Bitcoin futures. That's what we're talking about. Talking about derivatives that exchanges poof into existence because one side takes up one side of the agreement and the other side takes up the other side of the agreement. Now, this in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. Nothing actually wrong with doing this. Financial contracts and derivatives and pricing those derivatives is a perfectly normal thing to do. No problem. The problem lies when they take it one step further. And this is the problem with these types of financial instruments. When they do these types of financial instruments, they allow you to do something called using a margin. And this is what I really want to get to the heart of today. So, what's a margin? A margin is where you borrow some money and then you pay interest on it. Okay. So, what they allow you to do is they allow you to borrow money and pay interest on that borrowing. And what this does is this increases your buying power. Let's see how this works. Let's say you have $100, and what you want to do is you want to get 10x margin on that. Okay? What that would do is that would give you effectively $1,000 worth of buying power. Okay? Now, what happens is what you do is you end up, if you're buying $100 worth with 10x margin, it's 10x, margin, you're really buying $1,000 worth, okay? Well, what happens when that $1,000, worth of Bitcoin loses 10% of 10% of its value. Let's say that 10%, let's say it's at $100 to keep the math round, right? And let's say we lose 10% of that. Minus 10%, right? Well, that's $90, okay? Now, previously, if you had bought $100 worth and you lost 10% of your value, you bought, one Ethereum or whatever this is, and you lost 10% of your value, you would have lost $10. That's how I've taught you. This is what we do, this is how it works, and then you dollar cost average, okay? But this isn't how it works on a margin. On a margin, you really did buy $1,000 worth of, worth of Ethereum or whatever, right? And if you really did buy $1,000 worth of Ethereum, well, when that loses 10%, you didn't lose $90. You lost $900. Okay? Sorry, you lost $100, right? Because the difference of 1,000 minus 900 is $100. Well, guess what? That $100 still needs to pay back this loan plus interest. Well, all you actually had was $100 to begin with. Okay? So in the case where we do it normally, we lose $90. In the case where we use a 10x margin on that $100, we lose $900. Well, we lose $100. Well, $100 is all we have. We just lost everything. On a 10% move down, we just lost our entire bankroll. All we did was we took $100 and we used a 10x margin, so we bought $1,000, and then it went down 10%, and now we're out the game. If you can't survive $1,000 going down, a 10% loss in these markets, you shouldn't be trading these markets. That's ridiculous. These markets lose 10% on a daily basis. You wake up tomorrow and it's lost another 10%. It happens all the time. This is no way to trade. This is no way to plan. Let me show you what you should have done, okay? If this is what you really wanted to do, if you really wanted to buy $1,000, well, you should have bought $1,000. It's the same as taking your plan and multiplying all your starting numbers by 10. Just take your starting position from your plan, multiply it by 10, and now you've achieved the same thing. You've done exactly the same thing. The only difference is you haven't paid interest to do it. You don't need to pay interest to do it because you don't need to borrow the money. You just need $1,000. Okay. Now, yes, the reverse of this is true, right? You can do this and you can start with $10 and then, you can go much lower, right? But you only end up buying $100 worth. You only end up losing end up losing $10. But you just lost your $10 and now you've got nothing to show for it. You don't even have the position anymore because they margin called you. That's what it means when, you go on down further than what you can afford to on a margin. Well, they don't let you dollar cost average in if you go too far. You have to dollar cost average in before you've gone too far. And if it keeps on going, they'll just take your money. They'll just say, oh, well, you lost, it lost 10% and you were on a 10x margin, therefore you lost everything. This is identical to just spending the $100 to begin with. If this is what you really want to do, if you really want to trade in this way with this much more money than you really have, then just multiply your numbers in your plan. And you'll see that when you get down to the bottom of the bottom of the market, you don't have that much money anymore. Why? Because all your numbers have been multiplied by 10. This is weapons of financial destruction. And it's marketed in such a way as to make it look like you can make more, which is true. I'm not saying you can't. Of course, the reverse is also true. When you make 10%, you make a lot more than if, than the $9 you make $90. If you're doing it with the $100 and you do it, on 10x margin and then you make 10%, well, guess what? You really did make $900, so they market it as if you can turn your $100 into $200 off of 10%. Right? Because that's actually 100. And this is your profit right here. The $100 difference, because you still owe the loan for the $1,000. So you got to pay back that $1,000. Here's your $100 that goes into your pocket, minus the interest you paid for it. This is just a terrible idea. It genuinely is. A much better idea is doing exactly the same thing and multiplying all your numbers by 10. Multiplying your starting position size by 10 and seeing how it affects your plan. If you really do think a market is only going to go down, go find another market to trade. You don't need to short it. Go find another market that's going up long term. This is a bad idea. Which isn't to say that you can't make money doing this. In fact, now I'm going to show you the other side of this. Because on the other side of this margin borrowing is what we call lending. And lending, when you can find it, can truly be awesome. And I wish that Poloniex still did their lending because it was awesome. I know there's other exchanges out there. Do your homework. The point about lending is if you've got $100, you can lend that out for interest. Well, who's taking the loan? This guy is, obviously, when he borrows the money to do margin trading. He takes the $100 and then pays it back with interest, which you make. Turn that into $101 on a 1%, on a 10, on a 365 APR in a single day. Now, obviously, they're not going to give you a 365 APR, but they do give you some pretty crazy daily rates, like 1%, 2%, 0.5%, 0.5% daily. Well, I'll take that compounding. 1% daily, I'll take that compounding. Back when Poloniex Lending was doing this, we were seeing 4% on Dogecoin. You get 4% a day on your Dogecoin. It was madness. Just for lending it out. If you want to be smart about margin trading, be on the lending side. This is where all the money is made. Because margin calls, well, they're avoidable. You just don't margin trade. It's that simple. If you want the power that margins give you, just take the multiplier of the margins that you are thinking about trading and apply it to your plan, and it's the same thing. Don't be fooled. If you don't believe me, go into your spreadsheets and go and do the math. Don't take anything I'm saying as gospel. Go and do the math. See how the math works out in reality. Go and plan your trade. Plan it using margins, doing the short, right? And plan it waiting until the bottom and then going up again with 10x as much money. If you're going to short, you're going to need dollar cost average down if it goes up. If you're going long and if you go long on it and it goes down, you're going to need a dollar cost average anyway. Planning doesn't stop. The need to plan doesn't go away just because I think it's going to go down and I'm really sure of it, so I'm going to short it. This is a bad idea. I can't recommend not doing it enough. If you want to be smart, get on the lending side. Stay away from margins. Do the math, figure it out, for yourself how it works into your plan. Plan the trade and trade the plan. Now, yesterday I had a question in the dojo about where to take profits and how much to sell and how much to hold on to. And it was a really good question. I want to spend a little bit of time digging more into it. Let's say that we really are trading, BAT, ETH. We'll go with that. I'm just picking one at random. The question that's basically being asked here is what kind of, when you're doing, if you're doing, let's assuming we're doing a straddle, what top do you plan for? Do you plan to exit the market here? Do you plan to exit the market here? Do you plan to exit the market here? Even higher than that? Where is it that your zero is happening? Where is it that you're out the market? That you've done all the selling to take all the advantage of the motion? Versus, well, I still want to be holding on to some in case it goes rocket sauce, right? The answer to this is a tricky one, but it has to do with balance. For me personally, I believe in these markets long term, and I'm uneasy about making this my top. What that means, however, is that rather than taking a bunch of profit in this motion right here, I'm only going to take a little bit of profit. I'm going to hold on to the rest for sunnier skies, for brighter days, and then it's probably going to do one of these. And that was the wrong thing to do. Was it the wrong thing to do? Maybe. And we certainly could have made a lot more money in order to buy it all back here. That's inarguable. But did we know that that was going to happen? This is a risk-reward analysis, and everybody's got to make it differently for their portfolio. How much reward do you want to take on this motion right here versus risking not being involved for this motion right here and this motion right here? If you're looking for short-term gains, obviously this is a better strategy, putting your zero here. Especially in markets that are going sideways, you're definitely going to make a lot more money. And in bear markets, this is clearly the case. My advice, however, would be to watch out, because as soon as you think we're in a sideways market forever, will be the moment where we bust through this line and go up to here, and then it will have been the wrong strategy. I don't know ahead of time when the bear or bull run will occur. But for my portfolio, certain opportunities like Ethereum, Bitcoin, the top 10, I'm planning for up here. I'm planning for even higher. For other opportunities like basic attention token and stuff below the top 25, I'm pretty satisfied to really just say, no, this is where I'm taking my profit and getting out. And I'm going to wait for this to get back in. And if this goes ahead and happens, well, I'm already making my money in other opportunities because I'm doing this in other opportunities and getting out. This is about balance, and keeping your portfolio balanced is critical. But it's something that has to be reflective of your long-term planning. If you do not plan to make money in this market long-term because you think it's just going to sit here and bounce on down, which it probably could, don't. Take your money, get out. Go find another opportunity, which is here at the moment, not here. If, however, you think this could, come down to here and then go like this, well, you better be holding on to some in case it just does this instead. These types of analysis is very specific to each and every one of your portfolios. And it's a requirement that you decide what you think the long-term prospect is versus your short-term opportunities. For me, I make a rule, and then I test the rule. I test to see if that worked. I test to see if I couldn't have made more money by changing the rule. Would changing the plan, would have, applying a slightly different rule set, would that have made me more money? I can go back and test. But what I can tell you is that whatever rule works really well today, well, I can guarantee it's not going to work the same in 6 months. Whatever rule you are applying to this that says it's only going to go up to here before it comes back down here, that may be true at the end of January, but it surely won't be true in the end of April, May. This is the role of fundamental analysis. This is the role of news. So can you incorporate those things into your plan? Yes, you can plan to go read the news on basic attention token. Do some Googling. Whatever it is that you're going to buy. Whatever it is that you're making the plan for. Can you plan to set up Google alerts that come to your phone, that come to your email whenever this thing gets mentioned in the news? And so you're, ready and primed to take advantage of the opportunity? It's about planning. Can you plan to go and join their Discords and, pay attention to their critical dates and put them on your calendar? Sure. Again, this is about planning. The plan for any one given market needs to be based upon multiple factors, and it needs to include all the contingencies. But the plan about taking profit, that's largely a fundamental problem and largely one specific to your portfolio. In these kinds of markets where you see it going sideways a lot, probably doing most of your selling up here and not setting your tops for up here is going to make you a lot more money because you're going to be doing a lot more active trading inside of these ranges. This is especially true in bear markets. This is absolutely the most true in sideways markets. In bull markets, this is the opposite of true. Act accordingly, plan accordingly. Plan for when the market starts to turn around in earnest that you start moving your tops higher. Plan for when the market is coming down in earnest, you start moving those tops down fast. But at no point does the planning stop. The planning informs every aspect of this. Plan the trade and trade the plan. And that is the way of the trader. I'm really excited for Friday's lesson because we are going to do the deep dive into automation. We're going to put it all into use. We're going to see it all in action with real money against a real account. I'm going to show you it all with the API, with all the automation in place, how to set up a straddle, the whole 9 yards, as it were. Tomorrow morning, I'll be doing our regular charting session. I do hope you will join me then. And definitely bring your charts. Thank you all so much for attending. I look forward to it.